Who am I, and why am I staying in my house? Sir, just give me 10 days. After that, I will leave this place. This is the story of a multi-millionaire who, seeking solitude in memory of his deceased wife, returns to his ancestral mansion only to find a helpless widow. She had been living in that deserted palace with her 2 small children without permission. What the millionaire did next became an ultimate example of humanity. Friends, to know the full truth of this heartwarming story, watch the video until the end. The arrival at Sukoon Manzil. Under the scorching midday sun, when Zayan Chowdhury's black SUV turned through the dirt road toward the main gate of Sukoon Manzil, a cloud of flying dust blurred the view behind him. The rumbling sound of the engine created a strange noise in the silence of that deserted village, much like the storm of emotions brewing in Zayan's mind. This mansion was not just a building made of bricks and mortar, it was the dream destination of his late wife Zoya. It had now become a quiet museum of her memories. 5 years ago, he had gifted it to Zoya, who wanted to live a simple life away from the city's hustle. But Allah's will was different. 2 years ago, Zoya left him in a road accident, and since then, this mansion had become a sacred monument for Zayan, where he came to spend time alone only on her death anniversary. Stepping out of the car, Zayan took a deep breath, hoping the lonely air would bring some peace to his heavy heart. But as his gaze fell upon the main gate, his footsteps froze. "What is this?" An unbelieving question whispered from his lips. The iron gate he had left rusted and faded was now shimmering in a fresh peacock feather blue, the exact color Zoya loved. Zayan's brow furrowed. Where there should have been wild bushes and weeds, there was now neatly trimmed green grass and blooming hasnana flowers. The mansion windows, which should have been covered in thick layers of dust, were sparkling in the sun. A strange shiver ran through his body. Had someone entered this sacred place of his memories without permission? An unexpected encounter. Mixed with anger and curiosity, Zayan pushed the gate. The heavy iron gate opened without a single creak, as if someone had recently oiled its hinges. As he stepped inside, he heard the giggling of children. The sound was so lively that Zayan thought he might be dreaming. He walked quickly up the porch stairs and stopped at the open main door. The scene before him made the ground slip from beneath his feet. In his luxurious drawing room, where silence should have reigned, life was pulsating. A little girl, Mariam, was running around the sofa with an old doll. A small boy, Hamza, was crawling on the carpet. And standing near the sofa, a young woman, Aisha, was folding washed clothes. Instead of stale air, the room smelled of freshly cooked food and light attar, perfume. As Aisha heard the sound of Zayan's shoes, she looked up. The momentary relief in her eyes turned into deep fear the moment she saw him. The basket of clothes fell from her hands, and white fabric scattered across the floor. Who are you?" Zayan's voice was harsh, trying to hide his inner pain. "This is my house, my private property. What are you doing here?" Aisha's face turned pale with agony. She gathered the children with trembling hands and stepped forward. "Forgive me, sir. I can explain everything." Zayan's anger was at its peak. He had come here for peace, to drown in his wife's memory, but a stranger had occupied his world. "What will you explain? This is direct trespassing. I must call the police right now." At the mention of the police, Mariam ran to hide behind her mother's veil, and little Hamza began to cry loudly. Tears streamed down Aisha's face. She knelt on the floor, as if life had knocked her down many times before.
"No, sir, please don't call the police," Aisha pleaded, her voice filled with a mother's helplessness. "My husband passed away. My job is gone. The landlord threw us out in the heavy rain. We had nowhere to go. This mansion had been closed for years. I thought just for a few days, until I could find another shelter." Her words stung Zayan's ears, but his heart remained hardened. Just then, little Mariam, hiding behind her mother, asked softly, Ma, will we have to sleep under the bridge again? The word again hit Zion's heart like a hammer. Suddenly, Zoya's face flashed before his eyes. Zoya, who always said that a home is made of the people living in it, not walls, and who never turned away anyone helpless. Zion clenched his fists and closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his anger had subsided, though his pain remained. "You know this is a crime," Zion said, his voice now controlled. "I know, sir, but my children's hunger and the cold made me a criminal. Just give me 10 days. I promise we will stay very quiet. You won't even know we are here." Zion looked at the blue gate, then the clean house, and finally at the helpless mother. For the first time, warmth was felt in this house instead of sorrow. He let out a deep, heavy breath. "Fine," Zion pronounced his verdict. 10 days, only 10 days you can stay here. But I have one condition. You and your children must stay out of my sight. I have come here to be alone in my wife's memory. I want no noise. You will stay in the servant quarters at the back." Aisha breathed a sigh of relief and hugged her children. "May Allah bless you, sir. We will not disturb you at all." It was a strange agreement. A multi-millionaire who wanted to be alone with his memories, and a homeless family who just needed a roof over their heads. Zion didn't know how this decision would change his life, but for that moment, the walls of Sukun Manzil seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Conflict and confrontation. Just after this strange agreement, the mansion doors burst open with a loud bang. The unexpected noise startled them both. Barkat Ali, the old, trusted caretaker of Sukun Manzil, stood at the door, his face red with rage and surprise. Behind him, a village youth peeked in suspiciously. "Sir," Barkat Ali shouted as he stepped into the room. He had nurtured the illusion of being the master of this mansion for years, and seeing an intruder woman standing before the owner ignited his ego. "What is all this? This woman and her children? I told her to stay out. I warned her that this mansion belongs to the master. She must have stolen the keys or broken the lock." Aisha, clutching Hamza to her chest and hiding Mariam in her sari, looked at Zion with pleading eyes. Barkat Ali continued loudly. "They are thieves, sir. I heard this widow was homeless in the city. Hand her over to the police immediately. They will occupy the property." Zion felt a pressure in his head. This was exactly the noise he had fled the city to avoid. He calmed himself, remembering Zoya's smiling face. His voice became ice cold and controlled. "Barkat," Zion said firmly, "this is my house, and I am here. I don't need to call the police. Understand this, Aisha and her children are my guests for 10 days. "Guests, sir? What are you saying?" "It is my decision," Zion cut him off. "Your responsibility is outside the mansion. You were supposed to keep this place clean, which you failed to do. From today, you will only stay at the outer gate. What happens inside this house is none of your business. Now leave." Barkat Ali felt humiliated. As he left, he glared at Aisha. "Fine, sir, but I'm telling you, her character is not right. Everyone in the village, get out!" Zion's voice flared with a sudden intensity that forced Barkat to leave. A new arrangement. After Barkat left, silence fell. "Sir," Aisha said softly, "you saved my life. I will be forever grateful."
Zion closed his eyes. "I didn't save anyone's life, Aisha. I saved myself and this house from tension. And listen," he warned, "I am here for Zoya's memory. I need total peace. No noise, no trouble." Your peace will not be disturbed, sir. I promise, Aisha vowed. Zion laid out strict rules. You and the children stay in the back quarters. You will take supplies from the kitchen only when I'm in my room. Cooking happens in the back. Do not come before my eyes. He noticed a small broken clay toy in Aisha's hand. It was exactly like the ones Zoya used to buy. It felt as if his wife's simple smile was hidden in that toy. Tomorrow onwards, he cautioned, know your limits. If any rule is broken, I will call the police without hesitation. We won't break them, sir, Aisha whispered. As Zion went to his dusty upstairs bedroom, he looked back. Aisha, Mariam, and Hamza were still standing there, an unexpected spark of life amidst his solitude. Behind closed doors, Zion's eyes filled with tears. He looked at Zoya's picture. She always advised him to be kind. He didn't know how these 10 days would pass, but he knew Sukoon Manzil was no longer empty. The turning point. The following days were like a strange imprisonment. An invisible wall stood in the mansion. Zion stayed upstairs with his memories and business thoughts, while Aisha and her children lived like shadows in the back. One evening, Zion smelled the light aroma of fresh dal and roti. It reminded him of Zoya's cooking, making his stomach churn with hunger and nostalgia. At 8 p.m., he heard a soft lullaby. Aisha was trying to put Hamza to sleep. It was a simple song, but it carried a mother's love and the weight of her struggle. Zion realized his grief, though deep, was a luxury compared to Aisha's daily fight for survival. At 10 p.m., thirsty, Zion crept downstairs. He found Aisha in the kitchen. They both froze. "What are you doing here?" Zion asked. "Forgive me, sir. I came for water. Hamza woke up." She was holding a torn cloth. "What is that?" "Mariam, she wet herself. I don't have many clothes or diapers. I was washing and drying this." Zion felt a sudden surge of anger, not at her, but at his millions of dollars that couldn't help this basic human struggle. "Are you okay?" he asked suddenly. I have no problem, sir." "No," Zion said. "You cannot raise children like this. You need a job." From guest to caretaker. The next morning, Zion found Aisha teaching Mariam to play quietly. He approached her. "I thought about last night. You won't find another shelter in 10 days. You need a job. I will hire you. You will take care of this mansion and stay here with your children." "A job, sir? In this village?" "Not in the village, here. You look after this house, the house that was my wife's dream. You keep it clean. For the first time, I feel this house is truly Sukoon Manzil. Who painted the gate?" "I did, sir," Aisha said softly. "The blue looked faded. I bought paint from the market." Zion nodded. Aisha had intuitively chosen Zoya's favorite color. "Listen, this is a job, not charity. I will pay you 5,000 rupees a month. You must protect me from outsiders, especially Barkat. You report to me. You are the caretaker." For Aisha, this was a lifeline. "I will never forget this favor, sir. But can you really trust a stranger?" "It's not trust, it's business. You give me peace and security. I give you a salary and shelter. If you betray me, you leave. Do you accept?" "I accept." Zion told Zoya's picture. "Look, Zoya, I've made a new arrangement to keep your dream alive." For the first time in 2 years, a light smile touched his lips. The saving grace. As days turned into weeks, a rhythm developed. Zion began to appreciate the scent of fresh flowers and the distant sound of children's laughter. One evening, while working, Zion felt a sharp pain in his chest, a chronic condition triggered by stress and loneliness. He couldn't reach his breathing pump. He couldn't call out.
Aisha, coming to check on him, saw him sweating and gasping. She didn't hesitate. She ran in, found the pump, and helped him use it. She stayed by his side, reciting Durood Sharif and Tasbih to calm him. When his breathing stabilized, Zayan saw the worry in her eyes. "I have arrhythmia," Zayan whispered. "My heart becomes irregular with stress. Since Zoya left, the doctor said I shouldn't be alone." "I didn't know, sir. I'm sorry if I disturbed you." "You saved me, Aisha," Zayan said with gratitude. "If you weren't here, I might have been gone." The distance between them vanished. Aisha now saw a grieving, vulnerable man, and Zayan saw a woman who had brought life back to his walls. The proposal. Zayan began spending more time on the porch. He watched Maryam play and Hamza crawl. He realized Zoya was right. Life is about the people in the house. One afternoon, he found Aisha washing clothes in the sun, humming a tune. "Aisha," he called, "you care for this house as if it's your own." "I consider this house Zoya madam's dream," she replied. She told him how she had seen Zoya's photos in the library and felt her kindness. Zayan's eyes filled with tears. "Zoya was very kind. When she left, life left me. But looking at you and the children, I see life is still here." Barkat Ali, fueled by jealousy, tried one last time to poison Zayan's mind. He brought villagers to the mansion, claiming Aisha was characterless and trying to trap the millionaire. Zayan stood tall. "This woman is my employee and she stays in my house. Any word against her is an insult to my family. If you spread rumors, I will not only fire you but sue you for defamation." That night, Zayan sat on the porch under the moonlight. He looked at Zoya's photo and then at Aisha. "Aisha," Zayan said, "I've thought a lot. Zoya wanted me to be happy. I turned this into a museum, but she was full of life. You brought that life back. You saved me." He took a deep breath. "I don't want to keep you here under a job or a favor. I want to give you the respect you and your children deserve. Aisha, I want to marry you." The silence was profound. "Sir, I am not worthy," Aisha whispered. "You are a great man. I am just a poor widow. What will people say?" Zayan firmly held her hand. "Only small people like Barkat care what people say. I love your simplicity, your honesty, and your motherhood. You are the sukoon of my heart. Will you accept this life?" Tears of joy fell from Aisha's eyes. She saw a future for her children. "Yes, sir, I am ready." A new beginning. Within weeks, Sukoon Manzil was decorated for a wedding. He chose to marry her in the village, in front of everyone who had once doubted her. It was the restoration of her honor. As the nikah was read, Zayan held Aisha's hand tightly. Maryam and Hamza stood by, dressed in new clothes. When they both said "Qubul hai," the village erupted in joy. Even those who doubted them now felt only respect. Zayan pulled Aisha close. "Now you are my wife, Aisha, forever." Zayan felt his heart, once an empty vault, now overflowing with love and new dreams. Sukoon Manzil had finally found the true meaning of its name. Friends, how did you like this story? Let us know in the comments. These are not events from the Quran or Hadith, but stories based on the realities of our society, showing how we can find solutions through kindness and faith. Please subscribe to the Baserin YouTube channel for more educational and Islamic stories. May Allah keep us all on the right path. Ameen.